Thank you. It's been great, and still is by Skallagrim. Now, I have watched far less Skallagrim than other people have, and mostly that's just due to time constraints that I have. I have heard of Skallagrim, watched Skallagrim, kind of associate with people that love Skallagrim for a number of years. And if you haven't, you should absolutely go check out Skallagrim. I'm just going to put that right out. So I figured Skallagrim puts out a video, and due to the current state of YouTube, current state of certain copyright and advertiser issues, and even as we can see here with Tom Scott's leaving the platform, when I see something like this, I feel that it is something that I feel passionate about, and supporting your favorite content creators and supporting really cool people. And I wanted to kind of see what Skallagrim had to say. So, without further ado, Skallagrim, the floor.
Oh, it's amazing that I've been able to do this for as long as I have. So I just want to let you know how much I appreciate it.
This is already sending up really red flags for me. Man. Oh, don't tell me it's been a good run like that.
How much I appreciate all of you still being along for the ride, even if sometimes it's a weird ride. And I'm really glad that the collection is finally properly displayed.
That is a very, very beautiful collection. I am a huge fan of this. Skallagrim, you absolute legend. This is goals for me. This is goals.
Of it, at least. Pretty happy with how it's turned out.
Oh, so
I
good.
still need to put more acoustic foam up because this ain't much yet. I need to get more, but also need to put up what I have.
Right.
And organize things some more, all the usual super interesting stuff.
So to be fair, as somebody that if you were privy to old Kip reacts, right? If you were privy to the old ones, oh, the audio was so scuffed. And even then, that's why certain VODs, like, so I had somebody ask, Kip, have you ever played Elden Ring? Do you ever plan on playing it? The year it came out, I was like top 11% of streamers for Elden Ring on Twitch. No, I just don't have clips of it, or just the video quality was just awful. Like you don't want to watch that. People should not watch that. It was bad, which I had, many great people help me. I had someone very specifically take me aside and just like, hey, we're going to help you with your audio. And I got my new mic, and with their help, it's been great. And I get it. So adding acoustic foam will absolutely help with that.
It's all too easy to get caught up in the everyday grind of chasing after the ever-growing to-do list, or struggling with the YouTube algorithm and all its glorious transparency. Yes, that's sarcasm. And
So here's my thing, and we actually went over this in a couple other videos, specifically the YouTube fair use video, is that there are things on YouTube in modernity that don't make sense. And even then, how do you compete with certain things? I think we're all guilty of this. We're all guilty of, someone does X and we watch very specific channels for that, but every single day, like clockwork, they just have this new drama and this new drama. And sometimes they post 4 times in a week about a specific drama, even though there's no notable updates and stuff. I think that in itself, drama tubing has kind of become a problem. Absolutely, there's things that should be brought up. For instance, there was the whole BMW in 2023. There's the whole BMW thing where all cars had come with heated seats, and it was to, save manufacturing costs for BMW. But that wasn't passed along to the consumer because you had to pay a subscription to get that out. Or in instances like Sony, right, where Sony has factually tried to say, due to our lapsing license with Discovery, content you've paid for will be taken from your account. Yes, absolutely. We should be calling out stuff like that, and we should be vocal about that. When a company tries to backtrack something like, "Oh, well, we misunderstood the consumer's intent," or this wasn't perceived in the right way, or we didn't do enough research, that is PR to just they're falling back. It doesn't, if it went through, it would have gone through. It's only because they got backlash that they're doing something about it. You have to keep that in mind. So in modern YouTube, realistically, how do people compete with prank videos? How do people compete with some of your most outlandish stuff? How do you compete with, me potentially taking someone's animation that I like, taking a Joe Kid animation and putting 2 minutes of the animation up, but then at the end saying, "Oh, go to my Patreon to see the full thing," right? That's inherently, I would argue, deceptive and just would make me just a not super legit person. So that's why I don't do it. But it is here on YouTube. There are things like that are here on YouTube that are meant to game the algorithm and have an effect that otherwise we would be rightfully calling out. So there's just things to keep in mind about YouTube and stressors that I experience myself every day.
To admit that by default, I'm more attuned to the negative than the positive. Not by choice, it's more reflexive. And one of those personality traits where your brain is either more focused on approaching good things or avoiding bad things. Mine is the latter, which can be a good thing if you're more aware of what needs fixing and put extra effort into doing just that. That's been working out great for me lately, but I like to make a deliberate effort to countersteer that and be more cognizant of the positive and grateful of everything that's going well. Hence this boring ass video, especially considering what a rare and amazing position.
So the problem with that, actually, from the YouTube back end of things, because he said that technically YouTube will probably demonetize it, and then I'll have to go, excuse you, I need a manual review on this. YouTube is wild. They will demonetize you on just a drop of a hat. And I've submitted videos, and it's fully complied. Like for Seth Zintosh videos, I don't react to his videos anymore, not because I don't like his content, but because I've had videos that fully pass everything. Thumbnail, description, content is fully passed for monetization, and on the drop of a dime, when I was in the middle of a meeting actually for finances, like a loan, right? They just, oh, well, this is demonetized now. So, you know, and that's the thing is you can be like, can you reach out to me? Can you say anything on this? You were the ones that approved this. They're not going to answer. Let's be real. So that is another stressor in itself. And I think being vigilant for potential stressors, vigilant for potential conflict is great. As Skallagrim saying, you also have to look at the positives, though.
This is to be in. So many people never get the success and recognition they deserve for the skill, time, and effort they put into their craft or whatever activity. And here I am geeking out about all kinds of nonsense, and I can make a living with it. Yeah, sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. It's ups and downs. Sometimes it's difficult, but I'm still able to do this. How crazy is that, right? Especially seeing how 2023 was apparently the year of scandals, whether it be charity scandals or plagiarism or what have you.
No, 2023 was a really rough year. And I think if you're looking for a cause and effect, I mean, I think finances are pushing people in certain ways. I mean, credit card debt is up. Let's be real. There's people that are coming out of the holiday season that are depressed because of how much they racked up. And that being said, I mean, as somebody that, you know, I feel I'm competent at finances. I mean, yeah, if you have a line of credit, if you have something like that, it's there to use it. But also, you know, there's logic that goes along with it. You don't just, you know, buy an $800 suit of armor, rack up your card to full, and then take the next 9 months trying to pay it off, right? No, you pay that off in realistically, you know, 1 to 2 months. But we all know finances aren't that cut and dry nowadays. So, regardless, I mean, I think if you're looking for a cause and effect on that, it's pushing people in weird ways. But also, there's no safeguards for it. So, for example, I do React content, right? And I have been grateful that I did reach out to Skallagrim and I said, hey, are you okay with me reacting to your content? And he's like, yeah, just, you know, seen people on TikTok that'll take me out of context and they'll just repost it, you know, even without, sometimes with or sometimes without citing you. And absolutely, yeah. I mean, Skallagrim could watch this, right? And he could just say, you know, Kip, I don't really think you should react to this. Can you please take it down? 100% compliant with that. Cool. All good. And so I've been grateful that, you know, I reached out and I try to reach out to as many people as possible to say, look, like, this is kind of what I do. I commentate on things. I, you know, offer insights into things. Sometimes I even laugh at things depending on the context, right? I'm going to laugh at it. And in a lot of people's eyes, though, even with permission, you know, I'm still seen as kind of a scumbag for doing it. I'm seen as a copycat. I'm seen as, you know, a talentless hack, despite me, you know, having a complete second channel where I post all my VODs and stuff, and I stream fairly full-time on Twitch. So, I mean, I think that argument only goes so far. I think it only goes so far when I'm trying to do my own thing, and this is just the thing that's popular. And honestly, I like that this is the thing that's popular, because while I put in a lot of work into this reaction, while I put a lot of work into Kip Reacts and offering commentary, right, we're already 2 minutes into his video, but 9 minutes into my reaction, right? That's a lot of time out of my day. And I enjoy doing this. The issue is that it eats up so much time, and I go through so much burnout so quickly. So I'm trying to pick and choose who I react to, and Skallagrim, if anything, is one of the creators that I will continue to support. You know, I don't necessarily have the financial means to support on Patreon or anything like that. And if anything, I mean, I know for a fact people in my comment section have DM'd me. They have said, you know, Kip, I have found the Russian Badger through you. Kip, I have found the Fat Electrician through you. Kip, I have found XYZ through you, right? And the fact that I can be a smaller creator and I can have fun, I can do this, I can offer commentary and insight and direct you to Skallagrim, to other cool people. That's why I do this. Just kind of explaining my own point of view on that. sorry for the sidetrack.
People can lose it just as quickly as they got it. So,
yes.
Yeah, I got to count myself lucky. Anyone could be next.
Correct.
I've been asked what my plans for 2024 are. Bold of you to assume that my scatterbrained ass could plan that far ahead. It's definitely...
God, that's a mood. I had my parents ask me, you know, what's your plan 6 months from now? I'm like, mate, my sense of I blinked and it was no longer February 2023. Bold of you to assume I can think 2 weeks ahead at this point.
Definitely not a lack of ideas. I've got plenty. Every time I get a video idea, I create an empty folder with the title of whatever sums up the topic. And
oh my God, that makes so much sense though. I actually really love when creators talk about their creative process, because I can spit out some shorts and stuff that are very good. Like, people have been like, actually, Kip, this is pretty good. And I'll just like, that's like off the top of my head, just like, I'm just going to talk about a thing for like 50 seconds, right? Like, I love when creators talk about their creative process and how they do things, because everyone's different. This is different than, say, Mandalore Gaming's process, is different than, say, Martin Sita Pants' process, is different than, say, the Russian Badger's process, potentially, right? I find it very interesting when people talk about how they do things.
The problem is not coming up with ideas. The problem is coming up with good ideas and even figuring out what the hell is a good idea.
Let me finish this, because I actually have something to add there.
The current algorithm, you know? And people keep...
There, that's the one. Skallagrim, you could talk for 40 minutes on the effectiveness of a Messer versus a saber versus a katana, right? You could talk for 40 minutes on it, and there's absolutely an audience for it. I, as a dingus, professional dingus at this point, right, can sit here for 40 minutes on a 9-minute, 20-second video talking about things. And there are some people that would watch it, absolutely. The issue, and it's not that it's not a good idea, right? Like, it's because ideas that you have, I think, you know, good and bad are subjective, right? You could put out a video on Fiori, right? Or Godinho, right? Some of these manuals we study in SCA, right, for combat. And you could put out a video on that, and it's like, actually, that's a really good idea. You bring something new to the table. You're able to explain this clearly. You're able to go over the original and the translation in a very effective manner. I would argue that is a good video idea. The algorithm and what YouTube wants to push, however, have sometimes a completely different idea. Where I get pushed on the YouTube algorithm, I get pushed negativity constantly. I get pushed videos of, like you were saying, charity scandals, of certain content creators that had a certain financial zoo, quote unquote, project, and it's still just an ongoing issue, right? Or, you know, every day it's something, or I get complete misinformation in my feed. I ended up watching a creator once that said Hogwarts Legacy spawned the whole controversy of orcs in D&D, and I had to just stop for a second. Like, that has been a discussion 30 plus years, and I'm not going to throw my hat in the ring on that. You get where I'm going with this, though. I get pushed so much negativity, because I would argue negativity fuels the algorithm, and good and bad are absolutely subjective. If anything, I'd argue that there are many good ideas the algorithm classifies as a bad idea because it doesn't get that engagement. I would argue what you're doing right now, every piece of content that I've seen you put out, not just react to, right? Every piece of content that I've seen you put out is very good. It's very informative. It's very well done. It's very personable. And to me, it's very engaging. That being said, you know, there's a TikTok going around of a bunch of third graders that are spinning to a spinning chip, right? You know, sometimes things shift, and ignorance is not always willful. It's just that factors around them don't let them explore other things. There was a VTuber that I was talking to, and she was just like, oh, I would love to do sword things and stuff like that. Just do it. And the sentiment is what we were talking about in SCA alone, right? I play SCA. I'm up in Barony of Arnhold, up in Artemisia, up in Idaho, right? For those of you that are asking, you're welcome. Yes, if there's an event here, you will probably see me. Well, you don't know who I am. But it's one of those things that like people sometimes just don't know. And I still get people coming into my comment section alone all the time. And it's just like, well, oh, no, you're cool. I like that you're informative. I like that you talk about things. I don't like that. I like that you take a 9-minute video and make it 40 minutes, right? And that I'm so informative and I try to engage, right? And I get the comments that are like, dude, stop pausing the video. And to that, I just say, just go watch the original video, right? If you're upset with me pausing here, hey, you know what you should do? You should go watch the original Skallagrim video and you should go support him. Wink, wink. Like, the algorithm is awful for exposure. It's better than Twitch, but there is definitely an exposure problem. And you know, I don't really know how you fix that other than potentially larger channels trying to find and discover, even react to smaller channels. But even then, that gets vilified at times. So it really is kind of a paradoxical situation.
Saying, oh, don't worry about the numbers, just do what you want, which, you know, fair enough. But it's difficult to do when you have to worry about paying bills and whatnot.
You can't pay that mortgage on promises and dreams. Am I right? No, that's completely fair. Like, yes, absolutely. Do what you want to do. Be yourself. Be genuine. Just make content and grow from there. However, it's kind of hard to keep your lights on and your power on, right? On hopes and dreams and promises of, oh, well, I'll just get the next, I'll make it rich. I'll strike it big. Dude, if I can make like 10 grand in a month doing this, like that's my like goal. Yeah, I have succeeded. Like, I don't think that's even a reach by any means, honestly. Like, that's kind of just my whole goal, is to get to that large of a point. And even then, there's other things that I'm branching out to personally. But no, Skallagrim's right on the head here, where the sentiment is just do what you want, and, you know, everything else will fall into place. But unfortunately, that doesn't pay the bills. And that's where that gets into a conversation of, you know, well, you've made, you know, X amount freely accessible. You know, you're starting to paywall this. I remember when this person didn't paywall stuff, and it turns into just turns into a crap show, is what it turns into. This is a very valid argument to be in discussion to be having.
It's not that I disagree with that. That is the best way of being creative, of doing what you feel like in the moment, which I'm doing right now.
Right.
Regardless of how it's going to be received. That's just the creative mode. It's a proper way to do it. It just carries a certain risk, which is not to say that the videos I've been making last year are all crap that I didn't want to do and I only did for the views. Far from it. It's still things that interest me, that I'm passionate about, but sometimes there's more of a focus on, okay, sure, do this rather than that.
Yes, it does alter it alters your method of how you approach content, right? There's a difference to, okay, so let's take sword content while we're on theme, right? Take sword content for a second, right? There's a difference in how I approach a video, say, about German longsword, right? Where if I open up a video with, you know, back in the Renaissance era of Europe, you know, and I go X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and I start kind of like that, okay, some people are definitely going to click off in the first 30 seconds. Whereas if maybe I start with a story, you know, or start in a different manner of like, the hero from the Elder Scrolls Online trailer, you know, this character and this character, what do they all have in common? You know, go to a solo of a longsword, flash reveal the longsword. The longsword. Let me tell you about this, right? Let's have a chat about the longsword, right? Versus even volume warning 3, 2, 1 versus something like, what's up, Kip Nation? Today we're going to be talking about the longsword, what's got leverage, what's got reach, you know, what's able to really get around your opponent. We're talking about the longsword day. You see how we're talking about the same thing, but, and if I ever start calling people Kip Nation, I mean, just take me out back at that point. Like, something has gone amiss. Something's gone awry. It's how you approach certain things. It's how you approach different videos. It's the same idea, but your approach may differ.
Should I package it in such and such a way rather than that for it to do better, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
So I want to try to take more risks. I don't know how much I'm actually going to be able to do that, as opposed to just being like, oh no, the past 4 videos have underperformed horribly. I'm getting into trouble. I gotta play it safe again. It's not like I even know what safe is. Nobody knows what safe is anymore on YouTube nowadays, but
not even YouTube knows what safe is anymore. I'm confident in this. I've definitely had manual reviews come back, and I'm like, mate, the original was completely fine. What are you talking about? Like, because every YouTube manual reviewer is going to be different, and YouTube's gonna be like, Kip, we try to keep it uniform across all our reviewers. No, there's definitely a difference between some of your reviewers. There's absolutely a difference, and some of them don't even know what they're talking about. Like, oh man. I've had a number of videos just demonetized of just like, mate, come on now. Let's talk about this for a second.
that doesn't matter. The important thing is to keep trying. So,
yes.
And the same way as this crap right here, last year was not successful when it comes to my goals for health and fitness.
Same.
In fact, my health keeps deteriorating. I can literally feel it getting worse. And my efforts to get a grip and fix it have not been successful. I mean, short-term success, ups and downs, progress, regress, all of that. I'm not even gonna bother explaining why.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Speculation on this, especially if Skallagrim does not want to share, is unwarranted and unwelcome.
I don't want to make excuses. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I failed my goal, and I got to keep pushing. I got to do it better, smarter, harder, whatever, all of that. And by the way, I really appreciate everybody who reached out when I talked about this back in summer last year. I still have over 150 unread emails in my inbox, and that's with me doing what I can to keep up.
I always feel really guilty because I know, what was it, Mr. Beast had talked about how he was in the comment section every day and he was answering every comment possible. I try my best, but sometimes I can't. I have like companies and entities, alleged companies and entities that are emailing me about, oh, well, we want you to support this product and we want you to do this. And, we would like a great partnership in this. One, if I took a partnership or a sponsorship on a reaction video, I would feel very just conflicted, right? Because say if I got sponsored by Aid Addo Edgens, right? I'm talking about, right? And I put it on a Skallagrim video. Well, Skallagrim doesn't agree with said sponsor, right? I feel like it's into some needless conflict, and even then, it just doesn't look good for me, in my opinion. So I get it. I get just there's sometimes just a mass amount of things that just kind of pile up, and there's a mass amount of things that just you want to get to. I read Discord DMs and stuff, and people can tell you I read them unread for a while, and part of that is just. Sometimes I'm just so exhausted. Sometimes I just put in so many hours and I hardly sleep and I hardly eat. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this. And even if I'm fully rested and stuff, I mean, I got stuff like React content to push out. I have 2 other channels to manage. I have a full-time stream to manage. I'm pushing through Final Fantasy 14 on stream towards the Dawn Trail release, as of this, right? I've finished base Stormblood, but I'm pushing through, entire expansions in 5 to 8 streams, which is wild to consider. So these are definitely stressors that will add to things, and I can definitely empathize and sympathize with Skallagrim on these points.
So if I haven't gotten back to you, or if I only got back to you once or twice and failed to keep up, I'm sorry. I really appreciate everybody trying to help. The thing is, I found that this online stuff just doesn't really work for me. Talking to someone via email or Discord or Zoom or whatever, it doesn't really help, because the problem is not that I don't know what to do. I know perfectly well what to do.
Right.
I've spent plenty of time looking into all this stuff. I know about nutrition, exercise, and all that. The how is not the problem. The doing it.
Yes.
That's the problem. So what I need is...
And this is actually, this might actually still be under my channel description of, it says like, hello there, right? Obi-Wan meme. But at the end, it's like, words have power, actions have weight. It's a twofold process, right? I can tell everyone in watching this video, I can tell everyone that, next week I will react to another Skallagrim video. But the second half is doing. And if you don't, that can potentially ruin your credibility. And this is obviously a very, small side of it. I mean, the lawsuits get fought over this all the time. You promised X, you delivered Y, or did not deliver X. And that's, why the litigation is happening. Working in the world of finance, which I treated incredibly black and white, much to the dismay of people that I worked for, in my opinion. If someone said X, and I tell them, well, no, that's actually not a fixed rate, they're going to be upset at me because, one, something was said to them, but the action did not match. And that's why a motto that I will continue to follow: words have power, actions hold weight. So if you're looking for a little bit of a quote there, that you're welcome.
Is people in person kicking my ass, basically. That's what it is. And,
yes. I feel this.
Since we moved to Nova Scotia in 2019 and the pandemic happened shortly after, I still don't know a lot of people. I mean, I've got plenty of acquaintances, but there still aren't many people here that I know well.
No.
But I need that kind of social pressure. I don't enjoy it.
So that's the issue. It's not necessarily technology has caused this rift in society. It's that people can choose who they want to interact with, right? So say, for example, if I go out to a date, and then we're going to use an actual example. I went out on a date once, right? This was probably, 2016, 2017. And the entire time, I, did the whole chivalrous thing. I picked her up, brought her to a Italian place, kind of, that I thought was very good. She was on her phone the entire time. She was incredibly disinterested. And by the end of it, I was just like, I don't think this is going to work. You just don't seem interested. I don't see this going places. She ended up breaking down in the middle of the Burger King. We went that night, and it guilt tripped me into dating her, which that's a whole commentary in itself, and why I will say just it's okay to say no. If you don't think it's going to go somewhere, say no. But it's not so much technology. It's that people are generally disconnected and people are generally disinterested. People are also very judgmental, right? People have commented on my videos, came for Fat Electrician. What is this stupid anime thing in the corner, right? Well, it shows that you're just judgmental and shallow, and clearly you didn't know what you clicked on. For all intents and purposes, right? But, I can go outside and go to a local game shop, right? Like, I used to go to game shops all the time. Naruto, CCG, Legend of the Five Rings, occasionally Magic the Gathering. I hate the local community, though, just because it's unfortunately a lot of sleazy people, if you will, in this community specifically. Pokemon, TCG, Yu-Gi-Oh, what have you, right? Even Warhammer. And I used to be able to find people and talk to people and, just interact with people. And you just really can't get that anymore, which is why I enjoy going to our local SCA chapter so much. I thoroughly enjoy SCA. And honestly, if you are looking at some sort of exercise, if you're looking for some sort of community or camaraderie, look into something like HEMA. Look into something like Belagarth. Look into something like SCA. And just so I'm not promoting SCA specifically, right? There are a few times that I can say that I've really experienced just this primal joy, if that makes sense. One of them was I wasn't in SCA. I was in another group, which I won't name for reasons because I did not. I left them on pretty bad terms from stuff they did. But there was a tournament we had, and I was fighting my buddy in it because he had come to this tournament to participate a little bit. And there was a brief moment in time where we were using Shinai, the kendo swords, because it fit regulations. There was a brief moment in time which I stopped one of his blows, and it felt like time stopped, and I knew exactly how to do that, and I followed through with that next strike. It was amazing. Another time is when I was in my plate armor, and somebody racked me on the left side with it. Oh, it felt so good, though. Oh, my God. It was beautiful. And it's like, I've had these, I used to work in kitchens, and they're just like, well, Kip, don't you sleep around with anybody? And I'm like, no. They're like, why? And I like combat more. Like, which leads to really interesting conversations where people kind of scratch their head and they're like, no, you just haven't had the right person. I'm just like, I mean, like, I've done things, but things have been generally boring, and I like wearing armor and getting smacked in armor and firing back with a jab or a strike, right? I mean, there's just something about combat that is just a proper tempo. What I'm trying to say is people are different than they used to be, whether that being, the whole COVID pandemic being, I'm probably going to get demonetized for that, where the whole pandemic was being a mass traumatic event, which it was because the whole world entirely ground to a halt for about 2 years. And we're still feeling effects of that today. and people just aren't as educated or interested as being educated as possible, and they're willing to take wild claims at face value. So it's up to the person that knows better to defend it, right? We see this all the time in the scientific scam community. People are willing to take a video at face value that there are the Earth is hollow and there's Area 51 aliens down there and the Earth is flat. And I look at these videos and I just kind of laugh at that point. But the moment you're like, actually, like, we can scientifically prove the Earth is round, we can scientifically prove X, Y, Z, ABC. Oh, no. Any amount of evidence you present to them is going to be just, it's not going to do it. So it's less technology is this downfall and leading to this situation, and more people themselves have shifted in a way that they are judgmental, sometimes honestly very mean, and it's harder to find those genuine people, if that makes sense.
Especially groups. I can do it, I just find it mentally draining.
Yes.
But that's what I need. I gotta get out of the comfort zone and expose myself to that. So if you happen to be in the Halifax area or Nova Scotia in general, as long as there's not too much long driving involved, and you're looking for a training partner, let me know. Again,
I resemble this. I resound this. Like, that's one of those things that I actually kind of miss about living with roommates, is that, especially when they hold some of the same interests you do, yeah, one day you can just you're both off and you just pick up a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Naruto, CCG, right? One day you just like, all right, let's do this. You both pick up swords and start whacking each other, right? Or start practicing forms and stuff. I miss having people to do that with. I miss living with people to do that with. It's been a rough past few years for a lot of people where things like that just aren't the same, or it's harder to find people that are willing to do that. And also this, comes on the back of me personally living in Idaho. That's not really a thing. It's not. Idaho is very small town vibes. I mean, like, the amount of people that I went to high school with that either just out of high school, still in high school, they just kind of became parents and, just kind of engaged in just, monotonous grind set is kind of wild. And then I get people that look at me like, oh, you're doing well. I'm like, what part of me is doing well? I mean, I guess I do YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, right? But it's just different here. So I resound this, and that's why finding groups like SCA, which I think and they're not going to watch this, but I thank each and every one of them for still continuing to invite me to things, despite my schedule sometimes not allowing me to. I really do appreciate it. And find groups like that to help you out.
Sorry if I don't manage to get back to you if I get too many messages, but
no, that's fair.
Feel free to reach out. I do appreciate it. Yeah, so here's to a smarter or at least harder attempt in 2024 to get my shit together. And I wish you the best of luck with the same if this is something that you're working on. And once again, thank you for the support. Even if it's just watching videos, what I would like to do is set aside more funds for self-improvement, because I could tell that I need it. Things like perhaps a personal trainer or a therapist to deal with the eating disorder, things like that. But that's all expensive, unfortunately.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to try to make extra money to cover that. How can I do that? Well, aside from putting out more content, which always runs the risk of sacrificing quality for quantity.
Yes, 100%. So here's and this is the trap that Kip Reacts falls into right now. I have to put out most of the time not 4 videos. I used to do 4 videos a day. Even then, 4 videos a day. Quality was horrible. Audio was awful, right? That's why I'm redoing a lot of them, right? I think we can all acknowledge this. And I don't feel like I don't feel like I'm attacked for that, right? Kip, the audio used to be bad. Yeah, no, you're right. That's why I'm redoing a lot of them. No, I totally get this, where I'm even burnt out from doing 2 a day at this point. I want to do other work, but unfortunately, I don't have the metrics to really support that. Thus, and once again, like, if you come out to watch, say, Just the Fat Electrician, right? I don't expect you to watch everything. I don't expect you to watch my stuff I do on Pokemon. I don't expect you to watch the stuff I do on Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't expect you to watch the stuff I do on Martin Cedar Pants. I don't expect you to watch the stuff I do on Badger. I don't expect you to watch the stuff I do on Skallagrim, right? I appreciate people that do, and there's that core audience that absolutely does watch me. And I thank each and every one of you for continuing to allow me to do this. Don't mistake me saying I don't have metrics for me trying to belittle any of you. It's not. It's just, it's YouTube. That's just the excuse me, the way of the platform, um, it's a trap you fall into where if you do more is expected of you and quality suffers, right? I would absolutely love to diverge into other content, and I've tried to diverge and diversify content. That's why I only react to certain creators once or twice a week now versus putting out multiple in succession, right? But it's hard to get going on that, to make sure your bottom line is met. And even then, so even if it was just a not even a numbers game, right? Say he could keep up the exact same quality. What's that going to do for his sleep? What's that going to do for social life? What's that going to do for XYZ, right? Like, I would love nothing more than to have the funds to go to Japan in 2025. No, excuse me, this year, 2024. Oh my God, words, brain, years. Oh, time is a figment of my imagination, I swear sometimes. Right, I'd love nothing more than to go to Japan. I need $4 to $5 grand to do it, right? And if it's not in the cards, it's not in the cards, right? Like, you need to also set aside things like that. And I'm not going to commentate on or try and pry or even speculate on whatever health issues he's going through. It's not my place. It's not professional. It's not kind, in my opinion, to do so. What I can say is, from somebody that puts out, in my opinion, a fair amount of work across 2 channels and a Twitch channel and trying to get a third, but finding time to edit stuff, because long form edited content can still absolutely fail, right? I don't have that safety net, and there's other things that I've been wanting to do for years but haven't been able to do. So I completely understand where Skallagrim is coming from. And to Skallagrim, I absolutely back that. Yeah, you need to find other things to do. You need to find your sparring partner. You need to find that group of people. You need to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C. You need to take care of yourself from someone who is a former gifted kid, shocker, who constantly goes through burnout, who constantly looks at the world and is, you got to be fair about this. You can't support this in the algorithm, showing your thing on stream during a broadcast intended for all ages and not getting a community guideline strike, where someone gets a community guideline strike for saying an F-bomb, right? Okay, you got to have some consistency here, right? As somebody that struggles with all this, I completely understand, empathize, and sympathize. And I may be smaller, Skallagrim. Like, I genuinely do hope that you're doing okay, and I genuinely hope that things get better. I'm not to the size you are. I absolutely love what you do. If you ever do need something, if you ever want me to react to something specifically, commentate on something specifically, or even if you just want to be like, hey, you're in the SCA, what's your experience with this? You want to talk swords? Absolutely. I'm more than happy to. Feel free to send me an email or a message. This is to clarify, this is not any sort of, expectation. This is not any sort of, hey, like, you need to do this. No, just, I hope that you're doing the best. And if nobody else will, I will say, hey, I would much rather, put myself out there and say, if you need someone to talk to, if you need someone to discuss certain things, swords, etc. I mean, absolutely, I'm more than game, and it's a field that I think is really underrepresented on YouTube. So, like, I genuinely hope that things do get better from somebody that understands burnout, from somebody that understands what it's like to be stuck in a loop, so to speak, to be stuck in, I want to do this, but I only make money, or I am incentivized to do this instead. I completely understand it, and will continue to send as many people as I can your way.
Because there's only so much I can do. And the other 2 ways are more sponsorships, because the one thing you crave more of in your life is more ads. Another way would be through merch. If you like the shirt, by the way.
The shirt's hot.
Link down below. I should come up with some more designs. If you have ideas, by the way, let me know. And then finally, Patreon and YouTube memberships and all that. Again, big thank you to everybody who's already supporting me. I don't like to push it, but I really should. I should mention it more often. As it is, the Patreon revenue keeps slowly declining because more people drop out than keep signing up, which is perfectly understandable, especially.
Honestly, yeah, with especially modern financial concerns, I absolutely agree with this. Whoops, sorry. I totally agree with that. And sometimes it really just is. I get it. And that's why I don't like pushing, hey, go support me on Patreon, donate to me. I don't push that, because I get it. I worked in finance for, I think it was only like a year or something like that, but I still worked in finance. I got to see, different people, different people's lives. And it's like, I get it. I get what it, and even then I lived it. I mayonnaise toast, people may shitpost me over it, but it's like I definitely get what it's like to have mayonnaise and toast and that is your dinner. I get it. I 100% understand. You know, and so like it's not that you're doing bad, it's not that any creator's doing bad. Financial, you know, situations, financial things just take their toll, and it's really unfortunate. So I get where he's coming from on that, though, and that's why I don't push things as hard as I probably should
economy. It's just that I don't promote it much at all, so I don't get enough new people in. There are perks too. I'm not going to bore you with a sales pitch right now. You can all check that out in the description below. Maybe that is part of why I don't have as many patrons. If I'm just like, you can read that shit yourself. No need to go on a big self-promotion spiel. Maybe that's not ideal. I don't know. I'll also try to stay active on the other channel where I do gameplay videos and live streams and other videos about topics that don't fit as well on the main channel.
Yeah.
You can check that out if you like, also in the description. And I've been flapping my gums for too long already. So here is to a smarter or at least harder attempt in 2024.
It's okay, Skallagrim. I've already quadrupled this with commentary. You're completely fine. If anything, you're the one that's consistent and concise here. I'm the one that's been blabbering for 40 minutes.
Maybe in January 2025, you'll see me go, oh, fuck. But hopefully not. Thanks for watching, and thanks again for the support. Really appreciate it.
No, this was a good video, and I'm glad. I was worried that he was potentially going to leave the platform. I was very... I love that long sword. I love that sword. I was very, very worried that he was potentially going to be leaving the platform. But no, these are things, and we're seeing this from a lot more creators than just me, that YouTube as a platform is very different than it used to be. And even then, right, we've seen Tom Scott leave. The day this is being recorded, we have Matt Pat that allegedly is leaving as well, and it just leads into this little bit of a depressive spiral, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, you can put out an hour and 22-minute video on Stealth of Controversy by Laserpig, and it could get not even a fraction of the views that some of these prank videos get, that some of these people that factually have engaged in crypto and have rug pulled people, or have delivered something other than was promised. They just a fraction of them, and it leads into, I don't think necessarily React content is what's ruining YouTube. React content like this is quadrupling the length. I think it falls under transformative. What do you think, chat? But it's more or less the fact that creativity isn't incentivized anymore. And I think part of it is also instant gratification, and how our just society has really changed, like mentioned in this video. I don't think it's necessarily technology's fault. I think it's people's fault, and people choosing to not care, which is why I'm an advocate of caring. And saddens me when I see creators like JoeCat have to leave the platform, or leave, just stop altogether, because unfortunately things happen. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people, and we're not necessarily the dealer of judgment in that aspect. But I digress. One, if you have not, and you wait at the end of this, thank you, absolute legend. Two, definitely go check out Skallagrim, please. Like, I don't know him personally. I, don't expect anything from him. What I can say is, one, it was a pleasure reacting to his video, and you should absolutely go check out Skallagrim, because he is one of those people that, hey, I'm looking into getting swords. I'm looking at this. What do you recommend on YouTube? Hey, you should go check out Skallagrim. That dude's super legit, right? And I have done that. Like, hey, Skallagrim's on YouTube a number of times. Two, definitely go check out Skallagrim. He's an awesome individual. I love the content that he puts out, and YouTube definitely doesn't push his content enough, in my opinion. And three, take care of yourself. Okay, it's okay to say no. If someone tries to guilt trip you into a relationship by crying in the middle of Burger King, it's okay to say no and just leave. At that point, it's okay to say no. It is also okay to not be okay and have bad days. It's okay to not meet your goals, especially if you're anything like me and I have unrealistic goals of myself. I'm thinking, by 2025, I should be having my own, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, which that's not reasonable. That's not reasonable to ask of anybody in the current state of inflation, economics, etc. So take care of yourself, please do, because the world sucks. It would suck less without you. And I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.